Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another live. It is crazy windy out today. So you'll kind of notice the energy in the background. It's really insane. Also, I want to say that I've been feeling the vibes of this video all day. I have a playlist on Spotify. It's not my own music. I'm not a musician, but the playlist is called Heal the Earth, and I will post it in the description below, and I'll also post it to Instagram. And there's a song on this playlist called Ayahuasca. And, I've listened to this playlist for probably about a month now, but this song, beautiful, just the ayahuasca song has been stuck in my head all day. So I can feel the vibes and the energy of this video already. I'm super excited. We're going to be talking about DMT, dimethyltryptamine. I'm actually kind of shocked that I haven't really talked a lot about plant medicines or DMT before. And I'll tell you exactly why I have not talked about DMT in plant medicines before. Because the vibrational frequency of the planet has not been able to, I don't want to say that it hasn't been able to handle this conversation because, this stuff in this conversation has been around for a while. But at the same time, I was so worried that I would be discredited for my experiences with DMT and plant medicine to say, oh, she's not a psychic, she's not connected, she's a drug addict, right? That's literally what my concern was years and years ago when I was having these kinds of experiences. So now, honestly, despite the cult video on Friday, and I now understand that it was all astrology based, and of course I released the most triggering video on the most triggering day, but despite that, I know that this community, I know that you guys are ready for this, and I would be doing a disservice to humanity if I didn't talk about plant medicines and DMT. Okay, now before I dive into everything, just a couple of things to think about. First of all, thank you in advance, everyone. And I believe, Kevin, thank you guys for the super chats. Thank you for becoming members. Super appreciated. Obviously, if something resonates with you in this video, or you feel like this video unlocks something within you, donations and super chats are always appreciated. You guys know that. Also, check me out on Instagram. I don't know if you guys are already following me on Instagram, but check it out. It's just elizabeth.april on Instagram. I just put a post out there today asking you for new topics. If you feel like there is something that you want me to talk about, but I haven't spoken about, hit me up on Instagram, not in the DMs, please, but there's a post asking for new topics, so check that out. And obviously, if this video resonates with you, please share the video on your networks, share it on Instagram. People need to know. My intention for this video, for all of you, is to actually help you understand that each and every one of you are capable of unlocking DMT or dimethyltryptamine in your brain. As a matter of fact, I bet you anything that while watching this video or other videos of mine, you will be releasing small amounts of DMT. And trust me, don't worry, I will explain what DMT is to all of you who don't know, but it's really cool. Okay, really awesome. Oh, also, 2 extremely exciting videos, and thank you everyone for those beautiful super chats. I love all the 5s there as well, the 99s, awesome. Next week, this is so exciting, I'm doing a whole video on going over all of the most dominant species around planet Earth. I'm going to be talking about Anunnaki, reptilians, kind of already talked about them, Palladians, angels, greys, and those are probably it. Yeah, that's probably the main ones. Anyway, so I'm going to be talking about my direct experiences with those beings next Monday. And then the next week after that, I'm deep diving into sex, sexual traumas, the power of sex to raise our vibration and connect us to the universe, and all of that. So I already have the next 2 topics lined up. It's very clear that all of you really want to know about both of those topics. So I'm just listening. and it resonates with me, like, let's dive in, right? So before I go into DMT and talking about exactly what it is and how you can release it and all of that great stuff, I want to talk a little bit about plant medicine first. If you have a really cool experience with DMT or plant medicine, feel free to either comment in the live chat or drop a comment below. I love reading all of your comments. Okay, so I don't have a whole lot of experience with plant medicine. As a matter of fact, me and my dad, which is weird because he's an engineer and he can be very stubborn sometimes and divine masculine, we were actually going to take a trip. It was supposed to be a graduation trip from university to Peru, and we were going to sit with a shaman and do ayahuasca together. That was always planned, and him and I have been in very indigenous tribes together, and we've done those kind of ceremonies together. So, but like I said, I still haven't done it, right? So as far as my experience, my direct experience with plant medicine, I have about this much, okay? So I can't really talk a whole lot today about plant medicine. Plant medicines including, ayahuasca, iboga, rapé, all the other ones. I don't know. There's so many of them. Okay. Yeah, I don't really know. I can't really talk about them. But I will say I have a really exciting video that is being released on Friday, another interview, not a very triggering interview, even though this may trigger some of you as well. And the interview is with this guy named Adam Roa, and he's sit in, I think he said 40 plus ayahuasca ceremonies. He has incredible insights and information into that realm. I asked him all the questions that you would want to ask, and that's going to be released on Friday. So if you want to know more about ayahuasca in particular, he's going to be talking all about that. The only thing I know for sure about plant medicines, especially things like psilocybin, so mushrooms, magic mushrooms, and ayahuasca, for sure, they are technologies. I believe that plant medicines and psychedelics are technologies that were put here on this planet to allow us to connect to source and to awaken and expand our minds. Without a doubt, I know this for a fact because I've spoken to my interdimensional friends and the Galactic Federation about plant medicines, and that's exactly what they told me, is that they are interdimensional technologies that were literally planted on this planet to help human beings connect with their roots, all right? Okay, cool. So, do I personally, and I'm not the end-all to be-all sayer of anything in your life, so keep that in mind, do I personally recommend plant medicines such as ayahuasca? Yeah, I do. I mean, wow, we are in a day and age where we have access to these plant medicines. We have access to them. You don't have to be some sort of, coming of age shaman in a tribe in South America anymore to have access to these plant medicines. The only problem that I see is, look, things like plant medicine are a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Do I recommend taking the opportunity? Yes. Do I have my reservations? Yes, absolutely. Do I think everyone on the planet needs to do ayahuasca and plant medicines? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You have to be ready for it. You can't just go into a ceremony expecting to have an ego death, expecting to have, ultimate connection to source. You can't just do that. You're disrespecting the medicine by doing that. Do the work first. You have to, just like everything in life. You can't enter into a relationship without doing the work first, okay? So be responsible. That's all I say. But also, I think it is an incredible experience to be physical and to really tap into everything in the universe that is non-physical. Okay, and to really face yourself in that way. So I recommend them, yes, maybe once in your lifetime. Do the work first. Please respect Mother Aya and everything that comes along with that. And then check out the interview this Friday with Adam Roa. It's perfect divine synchronicity with these topics. Okay, cool. So let's talk about DMT, all right? Let's just get into what I know for a fact because I've experienced it. So DMT is actually the chemical compound is, the full name is dimethyltryptamine. And if I was flexible enough, I would show you my foot because I have the chemical compound of DMT tattooed on my foot. And on the other foot, I have the chemical compound cortisone tattooed on my foot. DMT is the ultimate freedom and liberation that we can have in this physical state. Cortisone, which is the stress hormone that is released in times of anxiety and fear, is the exact opposite. It is the entrapment of our mind in this body and in this reality. Okay, so all of my tattoos are binaries of each other, and I was told that at a young age that if I was going to get cortisol, thank you, cortisone, okay, cortisol, clearly I don't work a lot with cortisol. Okay, I was told to always get the binaries. So DMT is a naturally releasing chemical compound in our brain. And where does it get released? Our pineal gland. And what is connected to our pineal gland? Our third eye, right? So not only is DMT a chemical compound that is naturally found in our own brain, but DMT is a chemical compound that is actually found in every living thing all across this planet, and I'm sure out there in the universe as well. As a matter of fact, if you had a simple chemistry set, you could extract dimethyltryptamine from a blade of grass. That's how natural it is. That's how incredible it is. And how amazing is it that our brains have been programmed to release DMT without hurting any sort of system in our body? Not our neural pathways. If anything, it opens up new neural pathways, but it doesn't hurt anything in our body to release large amounts of DMT. Also, please always do your own research. I'm definitely not the expert in this. Really, most of the facts that I know about DMT, I found in the documentary Spirit Molecule. It's literally called DMT Spirit Molecule. Please write that down and go watch it, okay? A little homework for you this week, all right? DMT Spirit Molecule, I just looked it up. It can be found on Netflix and Amazon Prime for free. Technically, if you're paying for the subscription. Anyway, so DMT Spirit Molecule, it's incredible. A ton of scientists are talking about DMT. Okay, cool. So once again, DMT is naturally released in our brain. So you may wonder when. When is it naturally released the most? Science has done many studies on DMT. And basically, DMT is naturally released when we are born, when we die, and when we are in REM sleep. When we are sleeping and dreaming, DMT is released in our brain. So if you were to take DMT, you're going to basically experience the feeling of dying. That's literally what it feels like. So let's talk about the feeling of DMT. Now you know a little bit of the science behind it, but let's talk about the feeling of DMT. I believe that DMT is what is released during a magic mushroom trip or psilocybin or any other kind of psychedelic or even plant medicine. I believe DMT is what's released. I don't really know the science behind it. Go check it out for yourself. I think Adam said a little bit of, what's the difference between what's released, but all I know is that releasing large amounts of DMT basically shoots you out of your body and it connects you to pure infinite source, okay? And another word for it would be cosmic euphoria, right? And another term for it would be cosmic euphoria, the connection to pure source consciousness. And so the feeling of releasing DMT. Now, we can talk about the feeling of releasing large quantities of DMT, and I'm going to deep dive into my experiences with that. But I also want to talk about the experience of releasing small amounts of DMT, because every day your brain is naturally releasing DMT or dimethyltryptamine in your pineal gland. DMT is what makes colors brighter. It's what makes food taste yummy. It's this experience that you're having with this physical reality. And I wouldn't be surprised, although I don't know the facts behind this, that people who go through psychosis and people who are deemed schizophrenic, I wouldn't be surprised that the chemical compound in their brain is actually releasing a higher than normal quantity of dimethyltryptamine because they're functioning out of their body. They're experiencing a multitude of different dimensions, all right? Every time I channel, I release larger, not huge quantities, but larger than normal quantities of DMT in order to connect to the information that I receive. Okay, so all of you, guaranteed you have already had minor experiences with releasing DMT in your brain in a noticeable way, right? Like I said, we've all got that function in us. Have you ever, and I want to know from the people watching, comment below or in the chat, okay? Have you ever, been laying in bed or sitting on the couch and all of a sudden, maybe it's dark and you start to see sacred geometric symbols, right? Just kind of almost like a layer in between everything in this reality. Has anyone ever noticed that? Has anyone ever seen sacred geometry maybe on a wall, right? So that's a pretty good indication that you're releasing DMT. Has anyone else ever seen any physical objects move in a vibrational frequency? Like I notice this a lot with like the blinds. If you have like blinds over your windows, right? And it's like, whoa, like it looks like the blinds are moving, but they're not. Right, so that's a pretty good indication that you're releasing DMT. Colors, when all of a sudden you're like, whoa, look at the nature. Look at this beautiful flower. Look at how bright it is. Look at how beautiful this is. That's DMT, right? It's that cosmic euphoric connection to the reality around you. So most likely you have all released quantities of DMT in your own pineal gland before, right? And I'm going to teach you at the end of this video, it's not a step-by-step process, right? DMT is a 5D concept. It's not a linear thing that I can say, if you do step 1, step 2, and step 3, you will for sure do it. It's not possible to do that. Everyone is different and everyone's going to experience the release of that in a different way. But I do have things to recommend for all of you to release more quantities of DMT in your own life. Yeah, super interesting. Okay, cool. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about my experiences with DMT, and maybe that'll kind of make you understand my connection to it or my experience with it or what have you. Also, I just want to say this might trigger some of you, my experiences with DMT, and it might make a couple of you unsubscribe because you're like, yep, she's a druggie or whatever. I don't know, right? Like that, those fears are still in me. But once again, if I lose subscribers, that's okay. I'm sure that I'm going to gain a lot more open-minded individuals, right? And someone called it on Friday the, what was it, subscriber detox or something. I like that, channel detox. Okay, so in university, this was like 8 years ago. In university, I met this guy who was he was into chemistry. I don't know if he was a chemistry major or something, but we ended up being friends. He was like this crazy rad, hippie guy. And he ended up making, through this chemistry, I don't know, he ended up making the extract of DMT, okay? And I did it. I literally, so when I say you can do DMT, right, it's like naturally occurring in your brain, but you can also do it as well. And so what it is, I'll try and explain it because I don't really know too much about it in this way. Okay, so it's like kind of like, it looks like a powder, almost like a white powder, I guess. Yeah, and so you can smoke it. That's how you ingest DMT. And how I consider DMT is like I call it the westernized version of ayahuasca. It gets you to the same place, but in a very different way. Ayahuasca ceremony, obviously it's not chemical, right? It's natural from plants, ayahuasca, and you could have, an 18-hour trip or an 8-hour trip or a 6-hour trip or whatever with ayahuasca. With DMT, when you smoke DMT, it is 10 minutes. Literally, no longer than 10 minutes. You're out of your body, nothing in the world exists, and you're back in your body, right? And then you have to melt the DMT in a very specific way, and then you smoke it and you hold it in, and basically at the point in time when your vision goes like this and gets very blurry, boom, you're out of your body, right? And what they call it in this community of DMT is blasting off, right? So if you're about to do DMT, you're about to blast off, and literally that is exactly what it is. You blast off and out of your body. So I have done DMT twice. I did it twice. And then I also bought, I think it was about a gram of DMT from my friend. And a gram is a lot of DMT. And I started doing DMT ceremonies with my friends in university. And of course I attracted, I made friends through past life regression. So of course I attracted super open-minded people. And so a lot of my friends back in university called me the modern day shaman. I didn't really even know what a shaman was back then, but they called me the modern day shaman because I would set up this atmosphere, we would set intentions, and I would, set up the DMT and I would help them blast off. And I just figured this is such an incredibly profound experience. I would love to bring this to other people. And this is what I did. Of course, it was highly illegal, right? But I did it, right? And it was incredible. And I learned a lot because I don't know how many ceremonies I did. Honestly. Maybe like 20, maybe 30 for other people. Like I said, I myself did too. I've done it twice. And so I learned a lot, just like I learned so much from past life regression therapy. So if you think about me giving, 100 people a past life regression and we went into 5 past lifetimes, I, as an objective observer, get to witness 500 past lives. If I've done a DMT ceremony, or if you sat in a ceremony with plant medicine and someone else on ayahuasca, and then you kind of interviewed them after the experience, you end up learning a lot, right? You really end up understanding how DMT works and where people end up going. So I have a lot to say about where you end up going when you take DMT, but really, I truly believe, and so I stopped administering DMT after 2 things happened. One, there were people who loved DMT doing it so much because it was a kind of a break from this reality, like friends of mine and people that I would do these ceremonies with. They loved it so much that they ended up doing it too much and disrespecting it. And I didn't like that, so I ended up stopping because of that. And then the other reason why is because I started in deep states of trance and in deep states of meditation, I started to release dimethyltryptamine and DMT myself. Okay, and we're going to talk about that. Okay, so, oh yeah, I also want to say too that I told my dad back then, it was 2012. Yeah, it was 2012 when I was doing this, which is so, divine timing. And I told my dad, I said, Dad, you have to watch DMT, the spirit molecule. You have to watch this documentary. It's incredible. And then after he watched it, he's like, wow, that's so cool. Where do you think I can find some DMT? Obviously, he didn't know it was wildly illegal. And I said, actually, I have some. And believe it or not, I took my dad. He literally drove from Waterloo, which is where my home is, my hometown. He drove to Hamilton, Ontario, which is where I went to university at McMaster, just for the DMT experience. And he's like, can I drive home? Can I drive back after? I'm like, yeah, cool. We'll go for lunch or whatever, and we'll talk about it. And I filmed him and stuff too. It was really wild. Anyway, so that's my experience with DMT. And like I said, I started at a certain point in time naturally releasing DMT on my own volition. And I started realizing, whoa, we don't need the substance. Whoa, we don't need plant medicine, right? It's a tool. It'll help us. But people absorb or disempower themselves so much with the tool itself that they lose their own way. And I think I told a couple of you, or I told you guys in a video last year, that when I went to tribal gathering, which is, all these different tribes, indigenous tribes from all over the world coming together to share their plant medicine and to share their art and their crafts. I didn't do any plant medicine when we went, but I spoke to all these kind of hippie, dreaded out, super cool, sacred geometry tattooed, people when I was there. And I have never had so many heated discussions before than I had with these super hippie, chill people. And at one point I was sitting around a fire and I was talking to this girl and she's like, I'm pissed off at the shaman. And I said, why? And she's like, well, I spent all this money to have an iboga ceremony and I was supposed to have an ego death. That's what you have with iboga, is an ego death. And she's like, I didn't have an ego death. Nothing happened. and everyone else was having these wild experiences. So I turned to her and I said, you don't need plant medicine to have an ego death, right? And she's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. And I said, actually, I teach people how to have an ego death for a living. So yeah, and literally halfway through, I was trying to explain that if you just go within and you just, deal with your own shit, without plant medicine, you can have those experiences, all of them. The cosmic euphoria, the releasing of DMT, the connection to the cosmos, the absolute, dismantlement of your reality. You can have all of that without plant medicine. And she walked away from me. I've never been walked away from before. I was sitting there like, did she just walk away in the middle of a conversation? But that's fine. That's fine. Not everyone's ready for it. So yeah, super interesting. So back to DMT. From my experiences, there are 3 levels of DMT. I don't know if ayahuasca is the same way, but I wouldn't be surprised. There are 3 levels that you can go to when you literally blast off and you break down the veil of this reality. The first level, when smoking DMT, but also when releasing DMT naturally, is, I call it like the acid trip, right? It's the acid trip level. Everything gets really weird. Your arms get really stretched out, or they get really short, or whatever, right? It's like this like really intense acid trip, basically, is level 1 of DMT. It's weird. It's a weird level. I don't know. Level 2, this is through my observations of all of the people who I blasted off during DMT ceremonies. This is my observation. These are the 3 levels that you go to when you break down the veil. Once again, I wouldn't be surprised if it was similar to maybe a psychosis, similar to potentially schizophrenia, similar to, other plant medicines, but I don't know because I don't have those kind of experiences. So level 1 is just a crazy acid trip, right? It's just like everything gets really intense, but that's about it. You're still in your body, you're still in this reality, but you're, tapping into the weirdness of the reality. Level 2 of DMT is you actually go, this is so cool, you go to a city. Believe it or not, there is an interdimensional city in the center of this universe that I've had other people explain to me. Some people have explained it to me as almost like a 2D reality, like a 2D city where everything's very colorful and there's tons of beings there. Because the number one thing that I have heard from people that I've blasted off during a DMT ceremony is that they have met interdimensional beings. So what an incredible awakening, right? So they've gone to this city, and typically when they go to this city, they are recognized by an interdimensional being. Usually they're all different types and shapes and densities of beings, and they're greeted by a being, and the being says, "It's so nice to have you here in this realm. Would you like a tour?" And, and the person is like, "Yes, I would like a tour." And there the being goes and takes this person in the astral on this tour of the city, right? It's so cool. The third level, and this is like the absolute utmost extent of a level of where you're going to go with DMT, is pure consciousness, right? It's like going back to source. It's like going back to the center of the universe. Depending on your vibrational frequency level, you're going to reach one of the three levels, right? My dad told me, I said, "What happened? Where did you go? What, I asked him all the questions. And, and he said, "I know that I didn't go as far as I could have gone because I wasn't ready for it." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And so he really just kind of experienced level 1, right? And so I'll explain my DMT experience for all of you. And sometimes it's hard to kind of, explain because it's really inexplainable, but I'll explain it. So when you kind of blast off from your body, you actually, this is what happened to me, but everyone's different. I started to it literally looked like I was flying, astral traveling through doorways, and I was breaking through the door and breaking through a door and breaking through another door. And I kind of understood this as the planes of existence, or the different dimensions that I was breaking through and breaking through and breaking through. And then all of a sudden, all of these sacred, geometric, colorful lights and energies, and there's music playing in the background. So all of the colors and the energies and the beings are all moving with the music that is playing. And in my first DMT experience, I went to the center of the universe. I went right there. I went right to where I knew was home for me. And I was greeted by a very tall being. I can't even explain if it was a gray or anything, because it was a non-density being, which means that it's an etheric being, right? It's a non-physical being. So there's really no species name, but very tall, kind of like a gray, but an etheric gray. And the being said, let me show you around. And the whole time he was showing me this very etheric place in the middle of the universe, he was playing with this different shapes of energy. And then he would hand me the ball of energy or light or whatever it was. And then I would play with it and whatever. And he was teaching me about all these different things. And he was showing me all of these different locations in the center of the universe. The one place for sure, it was the last place that he showed me. It was the most mind-blowing experience, obviously. And the last place that he showed me, I have to explain it. It's so beautiful. Okay, just clear your mind. I know there's probably a lot going on in your mind. Clear your mind and think about, just kind of visualize this with me, okay? So think about just all blackness. And then there are these huge white light, almost like a bluish white light circles, huge circles in the darkness. And the circles, they interconnect, very similar to the tree of life. I don't know what it's called, flower of life. You know that pattern, right? The circles connecting. Literally, I'm obviously not very good with my words, but the circles were infinitely going to the right, and they were infinitely going to the left. And when I took a look at this scene, in the middle, right, this being was telling me, in the middle, these circles were combining. They were coalescing, right? And this line in the middle that went infinitely up and infinitely down was pure white light. It was like the most brilliant, blinding light you could ever possibly imagine. And I asked the being, I said, where is this? What is this? This is incredible. This is beautiful. Where are we? And he told me, he said, this is where souls are created. This is the creation of souls. Okay? So for any of you who are maybe religious backgrounds or whatever, and you're imagining a man in the sky, making a human being, it doesn't happen that way, right? It's just this functionality of the universe. The most mind-blowing thing about being shown where souls are created is that about a year later, I was in a bookshop and I was instantly drawn to this huge book that I still have, and it's in my mom's basement right now. And it's an Alex Grey. I don't know if you guys know Alex Grey, but Alex Grey takes DMT and he paints about it. So if you ever want to know what taking DMT or releasing DMT looks like in your mind, or maybe ayahuasca experience, go check out Alex Grey art, okay? It's literally mind-blowing. Anyway, so I open this book of Alex Grey art, and literally, I open the page to this huge art piece that he did, depicting the center of where I saw the circles coalescing, coming together, creating consciousness. And there was a poem beside the art piece, and the poem was talking about all creation. Anyway, it was so validating, so mind-blowing. On my second DMT experience, I met the mantis beings. And all I heard the entire time, it was less about visual, more about hearing. I heard their clicking, the mantis beings click. It was so wild. Anyway, it was really cool. And that's when I met my cosmic brothers and sisters, the mantis beings. And of course, I've been connected with them ever since. I have not done psychedelics or DMT since having that experience, because I have been able to naturally release it on my own. Once again, through deep states of trance and meditation, I've been able to get there. And I just want to say that I channel every day for a living. Like I open up my third eye, I release small amounts of DMT, and I can experience whatever it is in the universe, or astral travel, or tap into your energy, or whatever. But that is very different than literally blasting off out of your body and into this, weird interdimensional realm. So once again, I've done DMT twice, and I have naturally released it at least 3 times ever since then, in a huge capacity, in a major way, where I wasn't really in control of it. I sat down to meditate and instantly shot out of my body and into the ethers, which is very, kind of scary in a way, because you don't really feel in control of that. Okay. So that's my experience, being very vulnerable and never having literally told anyone publicly about those experiences, and my observations of, what happened. I will tell you one story, which was really interesting. I had this guy, and he was very depressed, and he was soul searching. He was clearly a cosmic soul, and he came to me, and he wanted to he wanted to take DMT. This was in university. So he had an experience, he had another experience. He came back to me a week later and said, "Can I do it again?" And I said, wait some time. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like, you don't just do it like you drink alcohol. Like, it's not appropriate. So I told him to wait. He came back to me, he did it again. He came back to me again, right? I told him to wait. He came back to me again. So for the 3rd time, he did DMT. And on his 3rd time, I was really kind of happy that this happened. On the 3rd time he did it, he said that he was greeted by these 3 beings. He said they kind of looked like grays, but they were white, and they had long arms, and the arms were really squiggly. That's what he said. The arms were like squiggly, and everything was moving. And basically the beings told him, they went like this, and they said, "Don't come back here, because this is not your home, and you are meant to be human. Right? Don't come back here. You're not allowed back to this place. And if we see you back in this place, we will kick you out." And that's when I realized and understood that there's got to be a respect, right? With any sort of psychedelic, with any sort of plant medicine, with any sort of DMT in that way, there's got to be a respect. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it's you can't escape to it. And I think that that's what that guy was doing, was he was escaping, and he was called out instantly, which I thought was really, really amazing. Okay, cool. So let's get into how. How do you release DMT on your own? I will say, this is really interesting, different techniques that stimulate the pineal gland. One thing that I was really into back in the day, and not so much now because I'm pretty stimulated, is I used to do a lot of spicy food. Believe it or not, eating spicy food with intention can actually activate your pineal gland, and it can activate your 3rd eye. Okay. I also want to say too, it has been scientifically proven that the pineal gland can go from, I believe it was the size of an almond in your brain to the size of a golf ball. Once again, I'm going to just rehash this. Your pineal gland can go from the size of an almond, and I don't know if it was a pea or an almond, but I think it was an almond, to the size of a golf ball. When you start activating your pineal gland and your 3rd eye, it starts to grow, which means that you're going to experience a lot of headaches. And the headaches are going to be right here, kind of like right at the back of your head, okay? And to be honest, the headaches are a pretty good indication that you're expanding your 3rd eye. All right. So spicy foods, someone just said, I think cilantro, but do your research, just say what activates pineal gland. What can calcify pineal gland are things like fluoride, which has also been scientifically proven. So do your own research. I hope that you all do your own research after this video, because I don't know too much about what is out there. But I did tend to find that eating like jalapenos just out of a jar and those kind of things were really activating for me. Even though I sweat a lot, they were very activating. So other things like how to just release DMT and those kind of things on your own. So if you think about REM sleep being a moment where you're releasing huge amounts of DMT because you're literally in the astral realm, other things that thin the veil, literally anything in your life that thins the veil of this reality will allow you to tap in and to release that DMT. You don't have to have this moment where you're blasting off out of your body. If anything, I don't want any of you to have that moment because it's very scary, and that's unfortunately something that could potentially wind you up in the hospital. So really, when you're working with the third eye, when you're working with the pineal gland, when you're working with naturally releasing DMT, always set clear intentions, always make sure that you're grounding yourself in the process, and always make sure that you're asking for an easy and a graceful experience rather than everything all at once. Please be careful what you ask for. Just please be careful what you ask for because your intentions are powerful. So anything that thins your veil. So things like, for example, music, playing an instrument, right? And not learning an instrument, but playing it. Singing, dancing, deep states of trance, deep states of meditation, painting and art. I find that being in the energy of a full moon, maybe not a full moon in Scorpio, but being in the energy of a full moon, really activates me. And I literally go like this during a full moon and I will see full on arm trails, right? So I'll be laying in bed and I'll just like go like this. I'm like, oh, wow. And then my wife is like, babe, what are you doing? And I'm like, look, babe, I can high five myself. And if you go really quickly, you can so this is like the arm trail, right? So it trails back. And then if you're really quick about it, you can literally like high five anyway. It's silly. It's a silly spiritual joke. But really, I do high five myself with the arm trails. So full moon energy can activate you. Crystals, moldavite can activate you and release that. You need to understand that tapping into your spiritual gifts isn't all etheric. It's actually a chemical compound release happening in your brain that has been studied. Once again, I'm sure there's tons of DMT, hopefully, documentaries out there. The best one, and really the only one that I've watched, is DMT, A Spirit Molecule, or The Spirit Molecule, or just Spirit Molecule, Netflix and Amazon. DMT, Spirit Molecule, Netflix and Amazon, okay? So small amounts released, colors are brighter, the beauty around you is greater, the appreciation you have for this reality is overwhelming, the love that you feel from the universe is grand, okay? So sacred geometry, music, dance, art, full moon, meditation, anything that thins the veil for you is going to be able to release small amounts of DMT. The biggest thing that you need to know is it's not this grandiose thing that you need to go out and try. It's something that you already have within you that has been specifically planted in our bodies by interdimensionals so that we can have a direct source connection within us without any sort of substances. And that's the biggest takeaway. You're already releasing DMT without the substance. You don't have to go out and do plant medicines just to have that type of experience. And the more that you tune in throughout your day of, oh, whoa, that was really trippy. I wonder if I just released DMT. The more that you believe that you're doing it, the more it will happen. Okay? Awesome. That's it. Those are all my experiences. Once again, everyone, if you want to know more about plant medicine and ayahuasca, I have an incredible interview coming this Friday talking with Adam Roa all about ayahuasca, plant medicine, his experiences, creation, expression, creativity, all of that great stuff. If this video resonates with you, definitely subscribe, definitely hit the like button, definitely share this video on, Facebook, social media, Instagram, right? And then if there is a topic that you think you want me to talk about, go over to Instagram, check out my latest post on Instagram, and I'm asking for your advice on topics that you really want me to touch upon. Next week, I'm going over 5 of the top interdimensional species that are interacting with planet Earth right now. Who are they? What do they look like? What dimension do they reside in? And what do you know? What do you need to know to connect with them? And then the video after that, next week, I'm going to be talking all about sex, the manipulation of sex, the connection that we can have to source through sex, tantra, onking your energy, beautiful orgasms, all of that great stuff is going to be happening the week after next. Awesome. I love you all so much. Thank you for all of my members. If you want more content and you're hungry for more, definitely hit the join button and become a member. I love you guys so much. Keep up the good work. I can't wait to hear about all of your DMT experiences. Bye for now.